Let's start off with our today's class. Let's try to finish as much as we can and then we'll come back to it. Okay. So this is the website that we were looking at. Let me just take up this particular H1 element, right click on it, go to inspect. So now what we are trying to understand is these margin, border, padding, and then the content is there. So try to remember this. Let's go to our drawing board. Let's try to understand what this means. Okay, pay attention to what I'm teaching right now, guys. So any element at any point of time that you are able to see, let's take up an H1 element that you have created. So there's an H1 element right over here. Your content, think about the content, whatever content that you are writing as your home. Okay, so this is the content that you are writing inside the H1 element. It has some attributes associated with it. Now when you are having a home, what are the different things that are situated? So you are having a bungalow, okay, situated in the city. What are the different things that you have along with it? So you are having your home, then you are having a backyard, okay, so you are having some lawn area around your home, okay. Then you are having some border, okay, some like walls around your home as well. So let's draw those walls. So you're having some border, some walls around your home. Okay, so this is the wall around your home right over here. And then at the end, you are having some margin, some space, some extra cushioning from the rest of the houses. Some space where you can have some roads outside the house, maybe some space to walk between the borders and all those kind of stuff. So the same goes on with your HTML elements as well. So in the middle, you are having your H1 element. So maybe this, okay, this is the content. So you are having your H1 element. Around the H1 element, you are having some padding. Okay, so that is called as the padding that basically separates this content from the edges of your H1 element. So this entire thing is your H1 element right now, the padding as well as the content. So the padding basically helps you to separate the content, okay, from the edge of the H1 element. Then you are having some border that you can specify around the H1 element. Maybe you want to have like a dotted border, maybe a solid border around the entire H1 element. You can place a frame around the H1 element. Then you need some spacing between two different elements. So this is one H1 element. You want to have another H1 element right over here. You want to have some space in between them. So that space is called as margin. So you're having margin. We will be looking at margin padding in a much more depth. So, okay, right now I'm just trying to make you guys understand it in terms of a house. Okay, so this is padding. Okay, you are having your border. And then your content at the very inside of it. Let's try to visualize it using our website itself. As you are able to see, this is the H1 element. You are able to see this is the H1 element right over here. If I'm hovering over it, you are able to see the entire H1 element being highlighted. Okay, so you are having your content at the very inside of the H1 element. And then you are having some spacing around the H1 element that is called as margin, that you are able to see as a particular orange aura. As you are able to see on your screen, the highlighted portion, the margin is being highlighted in your orange color. Now this margin helps us, helps the H1 element to be separated from the H3 element, as you are able to see. Okay, it helps the H1 element being separated from the H3 element. As you're able to see, this is the job of the margin. Okay, but right over here, even though we are increasing the margin, the red area, the red background color of the H1 element isn't increasing or decreasing. Its margin just creates space around the H1 element itself. Now what if I want like the entire text, the blue text shouldn't be just like pressed against the wall, pressed against the red color itself. I want some space, some breathing space around the text as well. So for that I have the padding. So let's increase the padding to like 10 pixels right over here, 10 pixels here as well on all the sides. Let's increase the padding on all the sides to 10. This is also 10. Let's have this as 10 as well. Because you're able to see the red color itself. Okay, so now the text is 10 pixels from all the sides of your h1 element. It increased the size of the h1 element itself. As you are able to see, this is the padding that we have put around the h1 element. It has pushed all your text, okay, the content, okay, and there is some gap between the red as well as the text itself. Now if I want a border, so let's specify a border right over here. Let's have a border, let's have an element style right over here. Let's have a border, let's have the border as solid, and let's have the size as maybe 15 pixels. Okay, so the blue color that you are able to see around the entire h1 element is now your border. As you are able to see, it's now your border. So the content is at the middle, then you are having some padding that separates it from the red hand side, then you are having some border around the entire h1 element that gives it a frame, and then you are having a margin around the entire element itself. Are you guys able to understand this? Please let me know. Are you guys able to understand it? Please let me know. Are you guys able to understand this? Please let me know, guys. Who is not able to understand this? I need to know that as well. Okay, Yesh, please repeat. Okay, so which part, Yesh, do you want me to repeat? Please let me know. How many of you are not able to understand this? Okay, Hemant, please specify what you are not able to understand so I can proceed with that. Okay, guys, please specify what you are not able to understand. Okay, border. So around your house, do you require a wall around your house? Okay, you want to put up some frame around a picture as well. So that is the same duty for a border as well. Okay, so what you want to do is you just want to write the code right over here. Border is solid. Okay, that is, you can have it as dotted as well. So let's just see dotted dotted. Okay, so as you are able to see, now the border is dotted around the entire h1 element. Okay, so as you see, dotted 15 pixels. We want to specify the color as well. You can specify the color. So let's say salmon. Okay, let's take up salmon. So you can change the color as well. You want a black dotted, so let's change it to black. Okay, so this is how you are able to put some border around your h1 element as well. Are you guys able to understand this now? Please let me know. Vasu, please write what you are not able to understand, because only according to that I will be able to clear your doubts. Okay, Vasu as well as Hemant Reddy, please let me know what you are not able to understand so that I am able to continue further. Okay, so almost everybody has understood. Great, amazing. So this is the concept of margin. So margin, what is the use of margin, guys? Let me know what is the use of margin in HTML. Write it down in the live chat, guys. What is the use of margin? Guys, let me know what is the use of margin. Okay, great, Vasu. Is there a lag when I'm speaking? Guys, let me know what is the use of margin. Spacing between containers. Okay, not border. Again, Hemant, wrong. It's not like border. Margin, you are having two elements, you are having two houses, you want to place some road in between them. This road is owned by no one. This road is not by the person A or person B. Okay, it's just spacing between two houses. Okay, it's owned by the website, it's owned by the government itself. Okay, so that is your margin. It separates two elements, spacing between two elements. That's great. Now let me know what is the use of padding, guys. What is the use of padding? Please let me know. What is the use of padding, guys? Yeah, like divider between roads, exactly. For margin, that's like divider between roads. What is the use of padding, guys? Padding. Padding is basically like space between your border and your element. Okay, you want to have some space, some breathing space within the element itself. You want to have some breathing space within the elements, gap between margin and h1 tag. Like, you think about it like that. Okay, content and border, that's exactly correct. Okay, so today we are having this last lesson. Tomorrow we'll be having our project. Okay, we have already scheduled the project for tomorrow. Okay, don't worry about it. Great. So that is the concept about the box property of the h1 elements. Now we are going to look at the display property of h1 elements. So let's go back to our code. Let's remove everything from our code itself. We just want the body tag right over here, and then we are going to create 3 div tags. Okay, so we are going to create 3 div tags. Div, let's have a class inside of it. Let's name it as top C. Let's have another div tag right over here, div. Let's have another class. Let's have the class as, let's say, middle C. Let's have it as mid C. Okay, I don't want it to be. And let's have another div tag, and let's name the class as low C. Okay, so we are having 3 classes: top C, mid C, and low C. Let's remove all the styles from right over here, and let's have the classes. So we want to have a top C, we want to have a mid C, and then we want to have a low C. So we are creating 3 classes right over here. We haven't put anything inside of those classes. Let's save this as well. So right now we are having 3 div tags on our screen. So let's do one thing. Let's have some height and width to these classes as well. So let's have a body background color. So background color as maybe dark blue. Then we want to have the width as, let's say, 200 pixels, and height as 200 pixels again. And we'll copy paste this to the rest of the 2 as well. We want the same attributes associated with them. Copy paste it. Let's change the color so that it's easily understandable which property is this. Let's change it to yellow. Let's save all the things. Let's go back to our website, reload the page, switch this off. So we, as you are able to see, we are having 3 boxes of 200 pixels by 200 pixels that are there on our screen. But as you're able to see, like, none of these boxes are coming in a single row. If I want them all in a single row, this isn't possible. Okay, this isn't possible. Everything is coming line by line. Early on, when we were making our website as well, you were able to see that the h1 element had its own line. Then you were having the h3 elements in its own line. Not everything was not coming in one line itself. This is due to the display property of these elements. That is the block display property. The default CSS display property for these elements is block. Okay, in block display property, you are able to change the width, you are able to change the height, but all the elements will be in their own separate lines itself. If I am able to go into inspect for each of these boxes, you are able to see when I'm highlighting any of those boxes, they are taking up the entire space. Okay, as you are able to see, they are taking up the entire space, entire width of your screen. Each of these boxes are having a margin that is taking up the entire width of the screen. This is due to their default display property, that is block. As you are able to see, the default user agent style sheet, that is your default CSS, is display is block. But if I change this display from block to inline, let's say, let's change this to, okay, so I cannot edit this. So let's overwrite it. Okay, let's have a display property as well right over here. So display inline, let's copy paste this down below as well. So in 2 of them, I put up display as inline. Okay, so when I'm going back to my screen, reloading the page, all that is gone right now. Why is that the case? Like it should have been in like two separate things as well. So there is some problem. Let's try to identify that. Okay, let's put up a margin for the bottom most. So let's put up a margin of 400. Let's see, 400 pixels should be okay. So let's have it as 400 pixels. The height and the width is now gone. Why is that the case? Let's change this display to the top. Let's change this display to the top as well. Let's save it. Okay, so still it's not coming up. This shouldn't be the case. Try to identify what is happening right over here. It's saying the size is 200 by 200 pixels, but when I'm hovering over it, it's saying that the diff is 0 by 0. Okay. Let's change it to, move this, save it. We are able to have the red color right over here, but not with display inline. Let's change it to block, inline block. Let's change it to that. Let's see what happens. We are having this as inline block. Let's change this display property to inline block as well. Extra line. Okay. Still it's not working. Okay. So right now I've changed. I don't know why inline is not working. I think so there is some issue with the code sandbox itself. You'd have to test it out later on, but in your local PCs, I think so that should work. Right now for this particular example, I've changed the display property to inline block, because that's also similar to inline elements itself with a few differences. I will come to that, but with inline basically you can put all the elements in the same line. Okay, you don't have to wait for, okay, so it's coming in the next line. So block elements will take up the entire width of your page. Inline elements will be like in that confined space itself. Similarly with inline block as well. So both our blue, the top container as well as the mid container, blue and the red container are now inline block. So as you are able to see, they are in the same line. But our yellow element is still a block element. So it is taking up the entire width of the screen. Let's try to see that and inspect. So as you are able to see right now, the top C is taking only the space of 200 by 200 pixels. Similarly with mid C as well, it is only taking up the space of 200 by 200 pixel. Whereas with the case of class low C, as you are able to see, it's taking up the entire width of the screen. Now, okay, so the inline element was actually not working because we didn't add any content inside of it. Let's put some content, let's say A, B, C, let's put up something absurd right over here and here. Let's try to save it. And then let's try to convert it into inline. Let's see what happens. Maybe this should work right now. Because it was an empty element, maybe that's why the inline properties were not working. Yeah, as it was an so basically what inline element tells you is whatever content. So for inline element, the priority is your content itself. As the div tag did not add any content inside of it, so it was not able to put it up inside the same line. So now what I've done is I've put some content, some gibberish inside both the elements, and as you are able to see with the inline element, both the elements are now in the same line. But the problem with inline elements is I cannot adjust the width of these elements. So for example, if I want to change the width to like let's say 400 pixels instead of 200 pixels, let's change it to 400 pixels, as well as for mid C, let's change it to 400 pixels and save it. Going back to our website, you are able to see that nothing gets changed. Okay, the width still remains the same. There are no absolute changes because for inline elements, although the elements are now in the same in the same line itself, they are still not able to change their width. But with the block element, you can do that. So this is a block element. So let's change the width to 400 pixels, save it, go back to our website, reload the page. As you're able to see, the width increases for a block element. You can change the width of a block element. Now, this is sometimes not useful. Sometimes you want the elements to be in the same line, but you also want to alter their widths as well. And for that, you are having your inline block elements. Let's change it to inline block. save it. Okay, so the first one is your inline block, the second one is your inline element, and the third one is your block element. So if I'm changing the inline block element width to 100 pixels and saving it, you will be able to see that when I'm reloading the page, okay, the width of the yellow is 100 pixels by 200 pixels, what we needed. For the inline element, it's just the content that it takes up, and for the block element, it takes up an entire line, okay, but you can change the width around it. So these are the properties associated with the inline block and the block. Okay, now there is a fourth display property called as none. Okay, so if I'm setting the display property of mid C to none, okay, let's see if I'm saving this right over here and going back to our website, it got saved, yeah. And going back to our website, reloading the page, as you're able to see, the entire element got like vanished. It vanished out of the entire website. Let's do one thing. Let's change it to 200 by 200 pixels. Okay, let's change this to 200 by 200 pixels. Let's change this to have a display of inline block itself. Control C, Control V. Let's save it. Let's go back to our website. So now the middle element we had set up its display to none. Okay, what this? Let's change it to inline element itself. Let's change everything back to inline elements. Let's save it. Let's have some text in the low C as well. Let's have some gibberish right over here. Let's save this. Go back to our website, reload the page. So as you're able to see, the mid element, that is the red element, mid C element, that was the red element, has its display property set as none, whereas the others are inline itself. So when I'm going back to our website and reloading the page, as you're able to see, the element with the display property as none, we are not able to find that element on our screen. So that element is not there on our screen itself. Okay, but sometimes maybe you want that element to be on the screen, but it shouldn't be visible. So for that, instead of having display as none, you can set it to visibility hidden. Okay, you can change it to visibility hidden. So now when you are reloading your page, okay, you are able to have a entire space right over here. The element is there. If you go to inspect, you will be able to see that the element is still there. Okay, the mid-C element is still there, but you are not able to see it. But sometimes you don't want that. So for example, this is a quiz. You don't want to show its answer. It's there, but you don't want to show it. So you can set out the visibility to be hidden. But if you want to remove the entire thing completely, okay, there should be no trace of it, then you can set it to display as none. Set it to display as none, the entire element gets erased off the entire screen. Okay, there's no evidence of that element itself. So you can use these properties, these CSS properties. So there are many CSS properties that are associated with it. One more thing that I forgot to teach you guys, this is something that is a bit advanced, so I thought whether I should teach it to you or not. So we have learned about classes, we have learned about IDs, we have learned about tags. There is another selector that is there, which you will be seeing very often, that is called as, let's say, pseudo class. Okay, it's called as a pseudo class. It depends upon the state of the element itself. So for example, this cursor, if I'm taking it over to any element, if I'm hovering over any element, that is called as its hover state. Okay, the state of that element is that the mouse is hovering over it. So sometimes you may want the CSS properties of an element to change on the basis of its state. There you will be using pseudo. You will be using what you will be using pseudo classes. So for that, what you have to do is, let's see, we are having our top C. Let's put up a pseudo class. Okay, let's put up a hover. So we are having a top C hover class. So let's take it up entirely as a new class itself. Let's copy this out and paste it here. And then I want it to have a hover class. Okay, so to have a pseudo hover class, okay, you want to have a pseudo class. One of the default classes is hover. So you are having top C, that is the item that I want to have the hover class. You have to put a colon right over here, and then you have to specify the state it would be in. So when you are hovering over it, I want to change the background color to, let's change the background color to something red. Okay, or Rebecca purple also will work. Let's save it, go back to our screen, reload the page. Okay, as you're able to see, nothing changes when you're looking at it normally. But when you start hovering over the element, it gets changed to purple. Are you guys able to see this? Please let me know. The state, as the state of the element changes to, let's say, hover, the color, the background color, the only thing that we changed right now is the background color. So are you guys able to see this, that it's changing along with time? What is hover? Hover is like when you're hovering over something, like can I make you guys understand? The helicopter was hovering over the land or something like that. So basically your mouse arrow, your pointer is basically hovering over that element. So that is basically its hover state. Normally it will be blue. As soon as you start hovering over it, it will change its background color to something else. You can have multiple changes as well. So maybe you want to change the background color as well as the color to, let's say, white. Okay, you want to change the color to white. Array, just a second. So you want to change the color to, let's say, white. Okay, so take up white, let's skip it, and so as I'm hovering over it, as you're able to see, both its background color as well as its normal text color also changes. Okay, so you can have multiple changes. You can change the size of the image. So let's take up one more example. Let's do one more thing. Let's have an image tag right over here. Let's create an image tag here, img. src, let's keep it as the image that's here. So that is logo101.png. So that will be logo101.png. Okay, let's have its alternate text as mdn logo. Let's save it. Let's go back to our screen. Save the style.css as well. Go back to our screen, reload the page. So by default, images are inline elements itself, but for the sake of simplicity, as you are also able to change its width, you can treat them by default as inline block elements. Okay, because you are able to change the width as well as they are inline elements. So inline block elements are the default. So if somebody asks you in interview what is the default display property of an image, you will be answering inline. Okay, you will be answering just inline. Okay, but to understand it for yourself, just remember that this is a cheat sheet, that it's an inline block. In interviews, you have to say inline because according to the documentation, it's inline. But for your understanding, you can think about it as inline block elements. Okay, so please remember this. Do not forget it. This sometimes people make that mistake. Okay, so we'll create an img tag right over here, and in that img tag, I'm going to have its hover state. Let's have the hover state written right over here. We want to have a border radius as, let's say, 40 pixels. Okay, let's save it right over here. Go back to our screen, reload the page. So as we are hovering over it, you are able to see that the border radius got changed. So that is what I'm saying. Like, you can have various different properties, CSS properties associated with it to make it a bit funky. Okay, that's up to you. Are you guys able to understand up till here? Please let me know. Yeah, hover is nothing but to point over some element. Are you guys able to understand? Please let me know. Can we enlarge it? Sure. So if you want to do that as well, what you can do is hover radius in this. You can have it as width as maybe, let's say, 500 pixels, and height as a GIGST height as 500 pixels right over here. Let's save it. Let's go back to our website, reload the page. So as I'm hovering over it, you are able to see that it gets enlarged as well as it has got a radius as well. So that is what I'm telling you right now. Okay. Oh, can you repeat the hover part? See, yes, you need to understand these are states associated with some kind of element. So these are called as pseudo classes that you can use. So you are having your code right over here. You want to specify your image tag, the tag that you want to apply those pseudo class to. Then you have to have a colon and then the state that they are going to be in. And then you can specify the properties, the CSS properties, the CSS attributes that you want to be associated with that particular state of the element. So that is how you have the hover state. Okay. Okay, great. Are you guys able to understand up till here? Please let me know. So how to change the speed of the hover animation, that comes under animation itself. Okay, so usually it would be advanced for you, but still do explore Lottie animations. Okay, LOTTE animations. That would be helpful. CSS Lottie animations, just search for it. You will be able to understand it from right over there. Okay, it's an amazing topic. I've created some amazing animations using that advanced I created. So in one of the boot camps, very like last year, I think so almost it has been 12 months since that boot camp. I taught the students how to create a proper animation in CSS. Do you think like you guys would be interested in something of that sort, like an entire boot camp dedicated just for like CSS, but like very advanced level CSS, like creating animations and everything in CSS? Will you guys be interested in something like that? Like I have already taken up these boot camps very far in the past, but recently I haven't. Okay, people are interested in those kind of stuff as well. Sure, so let's do one thing. After the React one, I will try to have one more boot camp. Okay, so the next boot camp is for JavaScript and React. One more thing, guys, I wanted your help as well. So basically, the upcoming bootcamp React, JavaScript and React JS, I want your help to like reach out to your colleges. So basically, like for us, as these bootcamps are free, we don't charge anything for these bootcamps. It gets very difficult to like reach out to students. So what I want from you is, if it is possible, fill up the Campus Ambassador program link down below in the description. I'll personally call you in the few coming days, and I will share you some details that you can then circulate within your peers as well as your college, and students whoever are interested could join those boot camps as well. It would be like very amazing, because see, as the number of students increases in the boot camps, it becomes easier for me to devote that much time and to come up with more better boot camps as well. So that is what I'm requesting from you guys as well. So do join the Campus Ambassador. The link to the form is down in the description of the video. Just fill it up. I will send you the items personally and just circulate it within your colleges. It would be very helpful for me. Okay. Okay. So are you guys able to understand up till here? Please let me know. Are you guys able to understand up till here? Please let me know. Okay, great. So we'll stop right over there. We have completed the basics that are needed for the project. Tomorrow we are going to start off with our project itself. So be ready for it. I've already scheduled it. Now, as far as the submission of the project, I will be letting you guys know in that video itself. So please be ready for the same as well. Okay. So thank you so much, guys, and we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I forgot the attendance link. Yeah. So I'm showing the attendance link right now to your screens. Give me a second. So take a screenshot for this, fill it up, and that will be treated as your attendance. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. We'll meet in the next bootcamp once again after the project. Okay. I hope that you guys will be joining us for the next bootcamp as well. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.